Welcome to the Creators Network. I'm Pablo, and this is the show where I sit down and talk to entrepreneurs, innovators, creators, and thought leaders to talk about what they're building, the challenges they face, the lessons they learned along the way. If you're someone who loves business ideas and the stories behind the success, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Today I'm joined by RG, the owner of Privateer Sound Studio here in Temecula. We're here to talk about his story and some of the lessons he's learned along the way. All right, RG, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. How you doing, Pablo?
I'm good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're creating currently.
Well, like you said, I'm RG. I'm the owner of Privateer Sound Studios here, creations, video and audio and video creations lab here in Temecula, California. We're just opening the doors. This isn't my first business, but it's my newest business.
All right, cool. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what drove you to creating the studio?
Yeah, well, I've always been an entrepreneur and a blue collar worker. I've always had a job and a business on the side. So I'm used to hard work. But I've always wanted to, transition out of working and getting into being just an entrepreneur. And a lot of things worked. Some things worked just for a little while. Some things didn't work out. But I've always been trying, and I've been around the block a few times. But I think that being an entrepreneur and owning your own business is the best way to discover freedom in your life. And if you love what you do, then you never have to work another day in your life. So that's what I've been trying to create all these years, and supplementing with going out there and working with my hands and whatnot. So that's kind of why we've got what we've got here.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you're a blue collar worker, and
Yep.
then you went to entrepreneurial route. What mindset shift did you think that you went through to launch you in that direction?
No, I think my story is a little different than a lot of people. A lot of people, they work in an industry, they make pies or they build houses or whatever, and then they end up doing it as a business, My story is a little different. I grew up in the ghettos of Southern California, and, I'm a Gen Xer, so I had a paper route. So I was one of those kids that rode around on his bike and threw papers on lawns. So I always had a job. And that was like at about 10, 11 years old, I started doing that. But there was something else that hit me when I was a kid, and it was we had in the back of your comic books, in the back of the comic book, there was a business in a box for a penny, right? So I put a penny in the envelope and sent it to them. And they sent me a box back, and I was all excited about it. What is this? And it was greeting cards, and they had birthday cards, Christmas cards, you name it, and an order form and some samples. And literally the instructions were, you go door to door and you sell the greeting cards and you get the orders and you send the orders into the company and they send you the cards and you go deliver them and you get a few shekels for, selling the cards. So I started doing that right out of the back of the comic book, and I thought, hey, that's cool, man. I like doing my own business, and so that was kind of like my whole life story. I always had a job, and I always had a side business, and but when you start to move on and you start to read books and you start to learn how to become an entrepreneur, it's it's always about breaking away from the work life and getting into being an entrepreneur and starting your own business and getting that freedom, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I seem to always have been in the start phase of businesses, so I was in that real hard work phase. So I had a job and I was always working real hard, so I never really got to experience the super freedom, of being an entrepreneur. But when I did taste it every now and then from a few businesses that I had, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'd much rather be rich than poor, and I'd much rather have freedom than be shackled to a get up in the morning and go and work. There were I had a career. I was a millwright, and I would get up in the dark and put my boots on and come home in the dark. And, sometimes I wouldn't even see my kids, for days at a time, because I was out before they woke up and in when they were all in bed, and then back up again before they all woke up again, so there was a lot of those days. So the freedom I really wanted with, becoming an entrepreneur. But unfortunately, I was always, working on the business and, working at a job. So it took a lot of my time up. So I didn't really get to taste that freedom like I wanted to.
So you feel that you've kind of got that entrepreneur spirit pretty young. Why do you think a studio specifically you chose to go in that direction?
So, why you do something is important. And, I was told a while back ago while I was becoming an entrepreneur by mentors and people, they say, your why has got to make you cry, and from when I was a kid until now, I've always been into disruptive industries, disruptive technologies, disruptive things that break the norms. And, I was a punk rock kid when punk rock first started. And that was kind of like what created that spirit in me was I always wanted to be that, break the norms and try to disrupt the status quo. Because, we look at it today, the status quo. I grew up in the Reagan era, as a young teenager. And so we seen things start to change and go corporate, and they were taking over our freedoms and our rights, and all these things were starting to happen. And now here we got what we have today, and we watched it snowball. My generation watched it snowball into, they took our pensions, they took our freedom of speech. All these things have been taken from us. So my why was always to go and create disruptive businesses or get into disruptive verticals that would, change the world for the better. Because I know that's what we need. And, I'm hoping that the young people today are starting to feel that spirit so that they can change all the stuff that's been done to us here in this country and get us our freedoms back. So I created this studio to give people a voice. Because it wasn't something that I had planned on or wanted to go into. But what happened was, I was working. I got out of my regular business as a millwright for a while to go into sales. My family worked at a big telecommunications company, so I got into sales of telecommunications and learned a lot. And then I got hooked up with a bunch of tech guys, right? And before I knew it, I was learning about disruptive currencies. Mm-hmm. And that led me into a whole path of, how do I get the word out about, this stuff and what it's doing. So I started watching people doing this on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is it, man. This is the voice. And because, now you had a global reach. The only people that ever had a reach was network television, and when I was a kid, there was only a handful of channels, and everything that came off the TV was the gospel, right? You listen to everything that came out of the TV. So nowadays, people don't see it like that. You got everybody in the world talking, but we got everybody in the world talking. And so that opened my eyes to this world of, what? People need to have a voice, disruptive technologies and disruptive industries. In order to get them out there, people got to have a place to do that. And when I set up my studio at my home the first time, it cost a lot of money. It was expensive to get good gear, good equipment, good cameras and mics and all that stuff to make a good production. And, it's all about the production, and people hear you good, they see you good, they tend to listen to you more. And so by chance, it was like time for me to move my studio out of my house. It was taking up a whole room, and I had a place to move it to. So in doing it, so I said, you know what? Instead of just creating this for myself, why don't I give other people a voice? Because if my why is to go out and speak truth to power and help disruptive technologies and industries, then why not open up a studio for everybody to come in? Because not everybody can spend $100,000 on gear and set up a studio and do all that. So let's give people a way to put their voice out there. And so that's why I created the studio.
That's amazing. I mean, the studio looks beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
You can tell you put a lot of work and money and investment into this place. And that I love that you said that you created opportunities for other people. Good opportunities are hard to come by. So.
Yeah, I mean, the more people you help, the better you make the world, the more that comes back to you. Mm-hmm. I've always been a proponent of that. You give, and then before you know it, things have come back to you. Mm-hmm. The more people you help make money or get their voice out, the more your voice and the more money you make. That's kind of how it works, and I've never tried to chase a dollar. I just tried to go out and help as many people as I can. Somebody told me that one time. You go help people, and the money and all that stuff will take care of itself. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's a way to help people get their voice out.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like you jumped in 2 feet. While setting this up, I mean, it looks like it took you quite a bit to make it what it looks right now. Have you had any moments where you've had to overcome maybe something you struggled with in adversity while building this place?
Every day. Every day, right? So there's always a challenge, especially when you've got equipment like this, studio equipment. I mean, the tech in these things are, one little thing goes wrong and you're chasing it for days. Like one little thing can set you off for a couple of days, especially in setup. Is it a computer problem? Is it a software problem? Is it even a cable? A cable can throw you off. I mean, when we first built this studio, we put all the cables into the walls, and we realized that we put them all in backwards.
Oh.
And we had to take all the walls apart and
Gosh.
Redo them and get up in the attic and do all that stuff. So there's lots of challenges. But you know what? Me and the crew here learned that with all the challenges, we learned our equipment better, we learned our gear better, we worked as a team to fix things, and we never let anything stop us. Mm-hmm. We were here till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, in the dust, and then, climbing through the attics and stuff. Mm-hmm. And, and that's the kind of stuff that makes it all worthwhile. When you bust your hump, when you're frustrated, and then when you sit back and you look at what you've done and you go, wow, you know what I did? I created something good here, mm-hmm. And it was hard work and it's satisfying.
Yeah, so definitely it seems like a lot of lessons learned along the way, because you're trying to get to an end goal, right? And the end goal is have this all set up. But you realize, I think, when you get there, everything's ready to go. There's always something that needs to be tweaked. But I think really the success comes in the building, the journey of, fixing a problem as they come up. I think those are more to be proud about, those little success moments.
Yeah, well,
the journey.
Another thing I learned along the way was, success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So if you're prepared, if you go out there and you prepare, people say, oh, you got lucky, but no, if you prepare and prepare and prepare and the opportunity shows up, you're ready for it. And that's where you succeed. And I'm not talking about all the little, there's always little successes. Along with the challenges, you have successes because you break through and you fix things and you do things right and you get to a place where things are starting to work and work out for you. But again, true success in a business is where preparation meets opportunity. Mm. And so you prepare, you get things ready, you get your business ready, you make sure that you're premier in your vertical or in your market or whatever, and then you make sure that you go out and search for that opportunity, because if you're prepared and you find that opportunity, then that's where you end up succeeding.
That's something that's behind of why I started this podcast. I watched a clip on YouTube not too long ago, and he talked about it was Steve Jobs standing on the stage, and he was talking to his marketing team, and he says it's more than just trying to compare ourselves to Microsoft or another company who sells cell phones. Is what is our mission statement, and it was that we think that people can change the world, and I truly believe that, and that's why I have this platform to showcase, people really just changing the world little by little, and we need more people like you showing the way.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that. Again, like I said, I like underdogs. I like disruptive technologies and industries, and I like misfits. And because it's the misfits that change the world. And with the way social media and media in general, like YouTube and whatnot, are set up now, everybody can have a voice. And you could become more popular than the news stations. I listen to a lot of news and financial information that's out there on YouTube. I don't even watch the television anymore. And I'm starting to see these things, like within 6 months, these news organizations will explode on the social media scene or on the internet media, and then I start seeing those people being interviewed on network television. Like network television's chasing them now. So I think that this is a perfect storm right now for things like this, so that people can go out and utilize that media space to go out and basically punch the networks in the face, because the networks, they've all gotten together and created monopolies, and their message is what's out there. But I'm noticing that people are out, instead of listening to the media that's spoon-fed to them like we did when I was a kid. You had to listen to that news, and we didn't listen to the news as much as young people do today. But now you can go out and choose what you're going to listen to, who you're going to listen to, who you're going to research and try and see if you're getting the information that you need. So it's a new world, and this right here, this studio here is, probably 100 times more powerful than the news that I watched on Channel 5 when I was a kid. We have the ability to reach the whole world, not just my local market, but I can touch the whole world from here. My clients can touch the whole world from here. And if they've got a good message and they got something good to say, then, they have that opportunity. So if they've prepared and they come in here and use the opportunity of what, social media and internet media has done, then they can go out and be successful and help a lot of people, because right now getting good information out there is important. And, it's everybody's responsibility to do their research and make sure that the talking heads that they're listening, because there's a lot of crap out there too. But if you're diligent and you go out and you do some research and you find people that are speaking truth to power and all those things, then you can go out and get a good information.
Well, we appreciate you creating a space like this. It really seems that you're giving power back to the people, and they're more in control of what information goes out there, true and honest information. So I just wanted to ask you one more question. Do you have any, if somebody was going through a similar, maybe they're in another city and they want to open their own podcast studio or content studio, if there's anything that you would want to give as advice? Yeah.
You ask an entrepreneur. Yeah, as long as it's in some other city, in some other state, maybe in some other country. No. Again, I think, your why has to make you want to cry. There's got to be a purpose behind it, and if that's the case and you have the passion for it and you can work hard. There's a lot of work that goes into these things and building these things and putting a business together. Like 90% of businesses fail before their first 5 years. I know that. I've had a lot of businesses fail. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be diligent. You've got to work hard, and you've got to continue to stay on top of your market space. Not that you need to copy everybody that's out there or try and better everybody that's out there, but you do have to know your market space. You do have to know who's out there and what people are doing and how they're doing business, so that you can compete. You have to compete. So my suggestion to everybody is do your homework, work hard, have a why that's going to make you want to cry, and don't give up, and don't let your past define you. Mm. A lot of people, they get into these things or they try something and they go, I've failed at this, or your mom tells you, oh, honey, you're no good. You've screwed everything up that you've ever done. It's like, no, don't let your past define you. Move ahead and just realize that, it's never failing or falling. It's you fall forward and you get back up and you keep going. And that's the best advice I can give people. And do everything you can to give back. Give back to your people that work with you. Give back to your community. Always have some kind of cause that you're giving back to. If you're given a lot, if you do become successful, make sure you're giving back to your community and do something, some type of a charitable work, some type of way to help the community that you're in. I know that here at the studio we're doing a lot of outreach to other businesses, and doing podcasts like this, and doing food reviews and company reviews and stuff, and just tagging them on Instagram and letting them know that we're out here and we're here to be part of the community. You got to do that. You got to get involved with your local community if you want to have a local business.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I appreciate your time. It really seems that you've been really resilient throughout your years. And where can people find you? Where should they look for you in your studio?
Well, we're in Temecula, California. We're located really close to Zarka Cigar Lounge, one of my favorite places to stop and get some relaxation. It's Privateer Sound Studios, and we're here in Temecula.
You're on Instagram, Facebook.
Oh yeah, we're on Instagram, Facebook, Privateer Sound, and I think we're Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. We got it all. Just look for Privateer Sound and you'll find us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, my man. Thanks, Pablo.
All right. That's it for today's episode on the Creators Network. Thanks again for listening, and a big thank you to our guest, RG, from Privateer Sound Studio. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe and share this episode with someone who you think would find value, and leave a review. I'm Pablo, and we'll see you on the next episode.